Hello, my name is Lisa. Welcome to Lisa's Wellness Hub. Today I am going to talk about SSI disability, and I have a personal story that I'm going to share with you first. My daughter was diagnosed with biliary atresia April of 2007, 2 months after she was born. The way they found out she had biliary atresia, she was really yellow. They didn't know what was wrong, and they actually opened her up. And a provider, Dr. Bunton, he was a surgeon at Presbyterian Hospital here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He actually called a surgeon at another organization from out of town, and there is a procedure called a SSI, and that is where you put the small intestine onto the liver, and it buys the child some time, either so they can, it's supposed to make them get strong and grow a little bit older so they can get a liver transplant. And sometimes SSIs do last a lifetime, but the person has a lot of health complications because, like I said, with biliary atresia, what happens is, for some reason, the ducts to the liver clot off after birth. So your child is not just jaundiced. Jaundiced is 1 or 2 days after birth. She was yellow up into a month. Her pediatrician just kept telling me to put her in the sun. Long story short, Dr. Bunton went in, got instructions on how to do the SSI, and did the SSI. Yes, Alice had several health problems after that, because if you're putting the small intestine on the liver, the small intestine can just get clogged in the matter of minutes, literally, because that's just not the anatomy of your body. So my daughter would get 105 temperature, and I'm not exaggerating, like that. So what happened was, then they ended up she had a PICC line, and those only last a couple weeks, and they had removed it. And I remember them taking her away from me, and they kept trying to, it was horrible. Like, they were just trying, the PICC line is this really long skinny tube, and they stick it up the artery in the arm, and that didn't work. So she ended up getting a central line. Well, during this whole ordeal, I have stories on this page about it too. I was unable to work. My partner, her dad, was not working either. And I had applied for SSI. That way I could she could have health insurance, and I could get a little bit of assistance while I was waiting for her to get her liver transplant. I had another service here out of New Mexico, Albuquerque, Children's Medical Services, that was assisting me. Her name was Paula. Hi, Paula, if you see me. And she was assisting me with medical records, just helping me with anything that I needed. And I never hired an attorney. I kept applying, and I kept getting denied. Getting denied. I think I got denied 3 times. And finally, Paula had told me that she had met an attorney, that she knew a personal friend of hers that was an attorney, and that she said she would take my case pro bono because I had done all the legwork on it. Well, she had called the judge, and ironically, that moment my case was on his desk, and he approved it. So I obtained SSI without having to get an attorney. I almost was going to get an attorney, but they were going to help me for free since I did all the, work. And Alice ended up getting approved. And shortly after that, we were called for her liver transplant. So it was great because we were able to live off of that while she got her liver transplant, and she recuperated from that surgery. So you don't necessarily need to get an attorney. It's not mandatory that you get an attorney. I know attorneys have strings they can pull and they know more about of what they're doing. But if you know how to fill out the basic application, submit the paperwork from your doctors, and you keep appealing and appealing, it might take a while, but eventually, if it's a legit case, then you'll get approved. So that's up to you. I just wanted to share that story with me because I did not have to give 1/3 of my portion or her portion to anybody. So what I wanted to touch on is about, so then she turned, I want to say like 7 or 8, I don't remember. But I got a letter in the mail and it asked me to go to some office, and we went to some office, and the lady had her jump and touch her nose and wiggle her ear. I'm being sarcastic. And then shortly after that, we got a letter stating that she was not qualifying for disability anymore, which I'm fine with because I didn't want her to be labeled as disabled because she's not. But then she has a liver transplant and she has to get labs every 3 months for the rest of her life. So we have to make sure she has insurance coverage all the time. So I don't know, that kind of baffles my mind. And not even just for like, I'm not even saying for the money, because when you get disability anyways, I used to have to report my income, and then I would just get whatever portion that I qualified for. But it was more about the insurance coverage that was important to me. And yes, it's confusing because that's where I was talking about Medicare. They if you apply for disability benefits through the Social Security Administration and you're young, it turns out to be Medicare. I don't know if that's just the way they have the process, but I just remember them telling me, how old is your daughter? And I'm like 7, and they're like, she has Medicare. I'm like, no, she doesn't have Medicare. It was through SSI. And I don't want to elaborate on that anymore because I'm almost out of time. So basically, I'm going to close out like this. Every disability case is different, and approval is never guaranteed. In my family situation, I applied for the SSI for my daughter without an attorney. The process nearly took 3 years. It required persistence, documentation, medical records, and patience. If you believe you or your loved one may qualify for disability benefits, don't be afraid to ask questions, learn about the process, and advocate for yourself. Thank you for watching. Follow me for more healthcare navigation, insurance education, and patient advocacy tips through Lisa's Wellness Hub. Bye.